gentlemen, dear journalists, welcome to the joint press conference of Prime Minister of Estonia, Jüri Ratase, and Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Paul Ryani. And first, the word is to Prime Minister Ratase, please.
Thank you, Speaker Ryani. Congressmen, dear ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to welcome Speaker Ryani, your delegation, and honorable congressmen to Estonia. It is a privilege to host you here in Stenbocki House. I would like to thank you for the good and constructive meeting. Our meeting confirmed once again that the bond between the United States and Estonia is strong enough. We discussed several issues, but most importantly, I want to repeat that the commitment of the United States to European security and to NATO is crucial. Your contribution to the Baltic security is invaluable and necessary even now, when the Allied battle groups are in place. The Estonian people highly appreciate it. I want to thank you and your country on behalf of my country. I also want to make it very clear that the Allied battle group in Estonia or elsewhere does not mean preparing for war. NATO is a project of peace. We know that security has a price and does not come from free. To us, it is one only fear that if we are to expect our allies to help us, we must meet the guidelines that we have collectively set. Finally, the war against terrorism is our joint duty. Let me confirm that Estonia will continue to help you to share the burden wherever you need us, and we can be of help. Once more, it is great to have you here. Thank you.
Speaker Ryani, please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I want to just say a few things. First off, I just want to say how much we as Americans, on behalf of my colleagues and our citizens, have such a heartfelt appreciation for the true history and culture of the Estonian people. As a college student, watching the Singing Revolution, I cannot tell you how inspiring that was to those of us who've always known freedom and independence. What you have achieved here is so inspiring. Our country is a country known as a nation of immigrants, and we have had so many people come to our country from Estonia, from the Baltics, from nations that have had great challenges, who have been oppressed, who have not known independence, liberty, and freedom, and have really learned how to appreciate it. And so, first, we want you to know how much we respect the independence and the freedom and the history and the culture of Estonia. Our message here in this delegation is a couple of points. Number one, our bilateral ties are strong and they're going to get stronger. We feel that it's very important to maintain this very strong relationship between our nations, and you're very well represented with your ambassador and others. Number two, our strong support for NATO is unequivocal, unambiguous. We feel very strongly that the NATO alliance is extremely crucial and essential, and we believe that the NATO alliance is perhaps more important now than ever before. And we also want to say thank you to Estonia for being a leader. We want to say thank you to you, Mr. Prime Minister, to Estonia for hitting the 2% pledge that we're asking all NATO alliance partners to hit. Estonia and just a few other countries, along with the United States, actually make that pledge. And so thank you for that. There are also a lot of areas that Estonia has contributed greatly in leadership, and that's cyber in particular. We want you to know that we stand shoulder to shoulder with you in facing the challenges and the threats that come from the East. Whether it's cyber warfare or whatever, we are impressed and inspired by your leadership, your acumen, especially in cyber warfare. There's so much that you've been able to contribute to the rest of the NATO alliance, to the EU, and we're grateful for that. Lastly, I just want to say that when our servicemen and women come here, when our troops do come on rotations, and when other NATO alliance troops come here, they are so well greeted by the Estonian people, and we're just grateful for that. We're grateful for that kind hospitality, and I think at the end of the day, it's because we share the same values. We believe in individual liberty, we believe in freedom, and we believe in independence, and we're so inspired and impressed that you've done so much to establish that here, and that is why, chief among other reasons, we stand shoulder to shoulder with you. So thank you.
Thank you, and now we have time for a couple of questions, so please state your name and the publication you work for as well.
Hi, hello. My name is Lauri Tänker. I'm with the Estonian daily newspaper Eesti Päevaleht and Delfi. Prime Minister, Speaker, thank you for holding this press availability. My question is to Mr. Speaker about the same thing you actually addressed right now, the consistency and predictability of the United States as a NATO partner. You and your fellow members of Congress, you have consistently assured that the U.S. is going to honor alliances. It's unequivocal, unambiguous, as you said. Yeah, we get mixed messages, mixed signals from another branch of government, the White House, which sometimes are surprising. One day NATO is obsolete, the other day it's not anymore. How are you assuring your fellow leaders around the world that the United States is a consistent, predictable actor in the world stage? And second question, what are you going to tell Mr. Trump, President Trump, about Estonia?
Well, I've spoken to the President a couple of times this week about the success of our trip and about our mutual assurance and our mutual commitment to NATO. As you may know, the President has been very clear on this point recently, his commitment for NATO. The Vice President has been here twice, I think, already since the inauguration, shoring up the commitment. What we have here is a very strong bipartisan delegation of Democrats and Republicans, senior members, including the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, which are showing that we have a strong bipartisan commitment to NATO. So what you're seeing now from this government, our government, and I'm a Republican, I can speak on behalf of Republicans, is a strong, steadfast support for NATO, and that does include the administration as well. As evidence, you'll see that the European Reassurance Initiative. Yeah, we have a battalion in Poland and a brigade rotating through right now. We're looking at more efforts that can buttress and improve our NATO Eastern alliances. So I think what you'll see is a consistent support for NATO, not just from Congress, which is here on a bipartisan basis, but also from the administration as well.
So my name is David Muddlested from Reuters News Agency. I have a question regarding whether the US House will vote on a healthcare bill next week.
You want to talk about healthcare here in Estonia? I'm sure that's what they wanted to ask you here. So we have a very challenge in our healthcare system, which we have a healthcare law that's not working. It's not working for our people. We have massive premium increases. Insurance companies are pulling out. People are left with few or no choices. So we feel the need to do something to fix that and improve that. And we're going through the typical machinations and deliberations in Congress on how best to get that done. Say that again?
I wanted to ask about the rationale of choosing those four countries, Estonia, Norway, Poland, and UK. It's your second foreign trip as a speaker, right?
It is my second foreign trip as speaker. I've had many others prior to being speaker. Before I was speaker, I was chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, which was in charge of all our trade laws and health care. Before that, I was chairman of the Budget Committee, which is in charge of setting the budget priorities for all of these things. The reason I wanted to come here this year as speaker is for this purpose of reassuring our NATO allies of our commitment to NATO. That's point number one. Point number two, the reason we chose Norway. Norway has a very, very important, valuable role to play in northern NATO, in the Atlantic. And then the other three countries are countries that are hitting their 2% quota, their 2% pledge. Poland's hitting 2%, England's hitting 2%, and Estonia is hitting 2%. And so we are here to say thank you for meeting that pledge from the Wales Conference.
Associated Press, Jüri Ratase. Sir, currently there are several investigations going on at the Congress concerning Russia's possible involvement in US elections and so on. And like you most probably know, the Baltic countries are also very concerned about this,
Right.
what you can call fake news and disinformation
That's
from
right.
Russia. So perhaps you could comment on a little bit, how worried are you about this thing? And,
Yeah, so it's very clear that we're in the middle of our investigation, but one thing we know for certain is that Russia meddled in our elections. It didn't affect the outcome of the elections, but this is a foreign country trying to meddle within the internal activities of a sovereign country, of a democracy. That cannot be tolerated. So what we are doing through our investigation process is to figure out exactly what it is they did and how they did it, so that we can help and equip and assist our allies to help them prevent the same thing from happening to them. We know that Russia is trying to meddle through cyber and other things, as you mentioned, like fake news, with independent, free democracies. We see it as part of our responsibility to help our allies prevent the same kind of thing from happening to them. And that is one of the reasons why we're going through this thorough investigation.
Okay, and now we can take one last quick question. How about 1 minute?
To see you are very popular person here. Healthcare.
Taavi Eilat, Estonian National Broadcasting TV. If we talk about US military priorities, then we know that US is fighting against terrorism. You have used the non-nuclear bomb in Afghanistan, you have bombed Syria, and even more than there is a conflict between US and North Korea. There are so many regions where you are fighting. Can we be sure that the US have enough forces to be here and support Eastern Europe if there would be something with Russia?
It's a very good question. It's one of the reasons why I think an alliance is so valuable, so that we force multiply ourselves. That's the first point I'd make. The second point I'd make is we are in the midst of rebuilding our military. We believe that our military has not received the kind of support that it needed to receive over the last number of years, and so we're in the middle of negotiating appropriations at this very moment for just the rest of this fiscal year, which is 5 months, but then next year we plan on marking a substantial investment in our military, because we believe it needs to be upgraded substantially so that we can meet all these asymmetrical threats that occur to peace and stability, freedom and democracy around the world. So you will see from this government, this Congress, and this administration, a new and stronger commitment to not just our foreign policy, but to our military, because we believe it needs more equipment and more upgrading. And that, combined with a strong NATO alliance, is why I feel very confident that we will be able to deter and keep peace. This is about keeping peace, keeping freedom and independence, and because of our commitment to fixing our military and the strength of our alliance and the example that Estonia and others are setting to meet this 2% pledge, that we feel that we are all headed in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.